Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside Indiana Overtime. Alex McCarthy, Seth Tao here at Assembly Hall. We were just at Memorial Stadium hearing from Tom Allen, who detailed Indiana's 2017 signing class, which is at 23 members, 5 early enrollees, and then obviously a bunch today. And it's a class that includes 9 players from Florida, a bunch from Indiana as well. Those are the 2 states that really made up the significant portion of the class. And it's a class that fills a lot of needs. It's not very highly ranked or anything like that, but really Indiana had, the past couple years hasn't really had a very highly ranked recruiting class, but they've been kind of filling needs and getting guys with bodies that they really like, long, versatile types who can play multiple positions. I guess in hearing Tom Allen today, what stood out to you about what he said, and which players stood out to you?
Well, a point that he made that I agree with, that it was impressive that they only lost 1 player. Mm-hmm. He said they only lost 1 player through the coaching change, and that really does speak to the relationships that the assistant coaches had built with the signees. What also stood out to me is that he said the best players will play regardless of age. So Nick Tronti, a new quarterback, will have a chance to compete for the starting job next season. So it's not a guarantee that Diego will be the starting quarterback when Ohio State comes in August.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he talked a little bit about Mike Miller of the Herald Times asked him if there were any guys who kind of reminded him of someone like Marcelino Ball, who came in as a freshman last year and started from day one. And he mentioned a couple guys. He mentioned Tronti a little bit in that answer, but he talked about Bryant Fitzgerald from Avon up near Indy as a guy who kind of is very focused. Is kind of just has kind of a moxie, I guess. So there are certainly players in this class who can play right off the bat. Juwan Burgess also comes to mind, who's a safety, formerly committed to USC, who committed just recently. So there's a lot of talent in this class, and he kept coming back to these kind of 2 ideas of big bodies and versatile bodies. And that's really what Kevin Wilson was doing in his last couple years here at Indiana, was finding guys who don't necessarily have a straight up black and white position, but finding guys who can play multiple positions and then having things kind of figure it out as it goes along. And that's kind of like, that's Fitzgerald, that's Burgess, that's Michael Ziemba, especially along the defensive line, who could also be a tight end. You mentioned Britt Beery from Carmel, who is a D end but has kind of the build of an offensive tackle. So there's a lot of versatility in this class. Again, it's really not that sexy of a class. There isn't like a big headlining name. There isn't really, there aren't really that many highly rated guys. A lot of under the radar kind of guys, but it fills a lot of needs, and I think down the line it could end up being, a class that really could contribute. I guess what else stood out to you about today?
I'm interested to see going forward how the dynamic between Allen and his son plays out. Yeah. He said that through the recruiting process, he said that USF was recruiting him when he was down there as well, and they even USF offered him, and they had ran it by Tom Allen, but Allen said that he stayed out of the process almost completely, just left it to assistants, and that Kevin Wilson handled a lot of the recruiting at Indiana. But that'll be interesting to kind of see how he manages that, because he can't really stay hands-off anymore.
Right. It's definitely going to be an interesting dynamic, made for a couple kind of funny moments during the press conference today with him talking about just how that might work out. But yeah, Allen said that they're probably not going to pursue anyone else in this class. You never know who could become available down the line, anything like that. But they definitely have a spot or 2 open. Darius Mullins, who was committed and who was planning on signing today, is going to go to prep school. And then Indiana was hoping to take Bobby Roundtree from Largo High School in Florida today, but he ended up coming to Illinois. And obviously there were some swings and misses in this class. Roundtree was kind of the big one, and then Indiana tried to flip Devin Barrett, who's an Auburn commit, but that's going to be tough. And then really they went through a couple guys quarterback-wise before they settled on Tronti, even though Allen said that kind of all along he's kind of had his eye on Tronti. And Allen, who was a high school coach in Florida and who obviously was USF's defensive coordinator a couple years ago, he has a lot of contacts throughout the state, and a lot of people were texting him and calling him and or contacting him in some way, saying you guys should really be looking at Nick Tronti. You guys should really be looking at him. And Mike Miller of the Herald Times is here. Mike, what's in 2 or 3 sentences sum up your takeaways from this signing class?
No headliners, but balance across the board.
Wow, that wasn't even 2 or 3 sentences. That was like 7 words. Good work. Mike Miller of the Herald Times.
Thanks.
Yeah, he'll just stand there. He'll be the eye candy.
Playing
for
drums.
This, yeah.
Sorry.
What
were you guys talking
Don't
about?
do that. We were talking about Nick Tronti
Mm-hmm.
and how Tom Allen kind of had his eye on him for a long time. And he was saying that he said a lot of interesting things about Tronti. That was one of the big subjects.
Yeah, he did say he had his eye on him for a long time, but it's possible that if he had his eye on him for a long time, Kevin Wilson might not have. Then once Allen became head coach, Tronti became more of a front runner in the recruiting process.
Yeah, and Indiana offered, I think, the day that they hired Mike DeBoard, and that was kind of when they really kind of kick-started their recruiting approach going into this final month of the cycle. So
the interesting thing about Tronti was he got hurt at the end of his junior season too, right? So he was kind of out of the picture recruiting-wise. I guess he couldn't go to camps in that very pivotal time for guys to, especially quarterbacks, to get their name on the radar at that point in time. So maybe that too had a little bit to something why he wasn't maybe highly or even higher boards or highly rated, higher on boards or highly rated.
Right. And with camps and stuff, Allen was saying that when you see like a 7-on-7 drill or something like that, or when you see Tronti throw, he looks good, not great. He doesn't really grab your eye that much, but when I think he said when the pads are on, he rises and shines. In games, so many people that we've talked to have talked about just how Nick Tronti kind of willed his Pontevedra team to the state title game, especially down the stretch in the playoffs. And so, they get kind of a guy with a lot of intangibles or whatever, and usually those guys are not highly rated. Usually guys who have the build of a Nate Sudfeld or the arm of a Richard Lego are guys who are highly rated, but Tronti, not so much. So he was definitely probably the most talked about guy today, because quarterback, everyone wants a quarterback. So, but for now, we've got a lot of stuff on the site. Obviously, head there for full recruiting breakdowns of the whole class. But
same.
No, well, go to ours first. Click on more of our stories, and then go to Hoosier Sports Report and HD online. Thank you, Mike. Anyway, for Mike Miller of the Herald Times, for Seth Tao, who's actually supposed to be in this interview, we are supposed to be here. He is not invited, but whatever. Anyway, for Mike Miller and Seth Tao, I'm Alex McCarthy. We will talk to you probably in a few hours after the IU basketball game. Thanks for watching.